G'day fans and welcome back to another exciting episode of Talking Stuff. And I tell you what, we've got a lot of talking to do today. Hopefully Aaron's going to do most of it because guess what, fans? I'm crook. Yes, believe it or not, my other half gave me a cold recently. I've got the sniffles, I've got the coughs, I'm starting to sweat, and it's not only because that I'm looking at my buddy Aaron sitting right next to me, and he's a good reason to sweat, if you know what I mean. Mr. Aaron, how you going, old son? Clearly you're feeling a lot better than I am.
You've got the beeps, the creeps, and the jeeps.
Yeah, exactly right. I tell you what, it's absolutely annoying. There you go.
Well, I'm feeling okay. As we were talking before I got on air, I've had like a absolutely amazing 2 days of like buying collectibles and going out on house calls and doing multiple house calls, and Chad saying to me, "Don't buy anymore, don't buy anymore," and I buy more. And so I've taken 4 carloads of toys back to the car today, and I've just been upstairs sorting Doctor Who and Flintstone stuff. Would you believe it?
So don't worry, fans, if Aaron is going out buying collections and getting himself sorted out, when he gets around to selling those collections, this is what happens. Yes, he gets a nice glossy coat, that lad. What can I say? Which is very, very groovy. So
I thought you were going to show something of Fred Flintstone going yabba dabba doo, because that's what I did as I drove the car back full with Flintstones memorabilia. I don't know who wants it, but you know what? I can't resist buying it.
No, very, very cool. So whenever I got to go and try and cough, I'll try and mute myself. So because you don't want to hear me coughing through the microphone.
You're going to try and what? You're going to try and neuter yourself?
Neuter myself, yeah, exactly right. There's a joke there, but I'm just going to let it go right through to the keeper. So there you go. But otherwise, I'm a busted Daggy fan. So I tell you what, they don't make them like they used to. What can I say? What do you reckon, dude?
I just thought today you were having a gravelly, low, manly voice, trying that to see how doing a presentation with that voice goes.
Now look at this, will you? Gregor said, "Yabba dabba doo, Docky Who." Someone is thinking about it a little bit too much. Well, guess what, fans? We're going to kick off the show. We've got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about, and you wouldn't believe it, right? We're actually going to kick off the show with, of all things, this.
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS!
It never gets old. What can I say? Yes, we're actually kicking the show off. Hang on, with a bit of Docky Who. I haven't pressed the right button yet. There we go. With a bit of the old Docky Who. Can you believe? Of all the things to start, I thought we'll get the rubbishy stuff out of the way first, and we'll kick it, and then hopefully we could just pick it up from there. Now this is nothing spectacular, nothing exciting, but I saw this come through, and I was just going to ask you a question. So they've released an action figure for the 15th Doctor, right? Which is okay, yeah, big deal. They've done all the other Doctors and blah, 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 blah. But considering the Doctor, the 15th Doctor, never had a standard dress code, how did they work out which outfit to give him? Or they're going to do one for all of the different outfits that he wore?
No, they basically went for the first outfit that the BBC put publicity photos out of. Because there's a lead-in for toys, I guess the first outfit that they had a style guide for went to all the different merchandisers, and that was it. So it is the stuff from the very early announcement of his release and the first pictures of him in costume.
Okay, so are they going to do the other ones as well? Because you wore a whole lot of different outfits, so they're just going to stick with this one, and that's the end of it.
Well, I don't know if you saw, there's 2 figures coming out at once. There's that standard version, and there's the Vortex collection, and both of them he's in the same costume. So I would say that's it for at least a year or 2.
Okay, very, very cool. Hopefully with the second season, they'll at least give the guy a standard dress code. So very, very cool. Christy said she wants a 15th regeneration outfit. Oh, that sounds very, very exciting. I don't even know what that is. What is a regeneration outfit, dude?
Well, that means he'll be in his tidy whities, wouldn't it, Dad?
Oh, okay. All right. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat, Christy. What can I say? So, yes, very, very cool. And Russell has said, yeah, it depends if they sell the first one. Actually, speaking of which, do you reckon these things are going to sell?
No. I do wonder if it had been another female Doctor, if they'd have been comfortable regenerating her into her underwear in front of everyone. I don't think that would have happened. I say no because we take pre-orders on action figures, and when we take pre-orders for stuff like the Daleks, generally we do pre-orders of about 10 to 20 before we even get to ones going into the shop for people to buy. With the Doctor, it looks like we've got pre-orders of 5, and that includes a couple for Greg King, one for me, and a couple for the other regulars who get one of everything. So it's definitely not as popular as the classic Doctor sets.
Very, very cool. Now, Colin way up here said to good evening, gentlemen and gentleman. Okay, that's a singular. So which one's a gentleman added us to?
Well, you, because I'm the capitalist dog.
That's true. So anyway, so Colin, of course, is in charge of the Austrek, the Star Trek fan club of Victoria. And this bit of news came out, I think it was a couple of days ago. So Star Trek Section 31, it's actually got an air date now, the 24th of January next year. And of course, it is a movie. Don't ask me. I think it's on Paramount. You know, who knows what's going on with streaming services these days. They're crisscrossing stuff all the time. But at least it's finally getting an air date, which is very, very groovy, which means we'll probably end up discussing it on this show. But what do you reckon, dude?
It's
Section
amazing.
31 finally gets place.
On the same day, Pornhub announced the parody, Star Trek Erection 31, and that's coming out on the 69th. But I don't know whether it's, is it getting a cinematic release or is it going to be purely for Paramount? That's the thing. They've said it's a movie and they're advertising it with a trailer, but I think it's just coming out on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a cinematic release. Even I would know that. So that would really surprise me. I mean, it wouldn't work. They wouldn't sell enough tickets to warrant it. It's a Star Trek series, which by default would bring it down a level. It's a dealing with a section of Starfleet that most people never heard it down and brings it down even all these non-standard characters. That brings it down. Return the investment. So no, definitely just be released online. As to what happens after that, that's a good question. Whether they do more movies or TV series or whatever else. So.
Well, they did.
Very, very cool.
They did release, Firefly's Serenity at the cinema. You'd think wouldn't have as big a following as Star Trek does. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, it's a good point. Having said that, Firefly was the main show, as was Serenity. So, but anyway, if I'm proven wrong, then so be it, Jedi. Colin has said straight. Hang on, sorry. Says straight to streaming. So, yeah, exactly right. Anyway, I think everybody will be watching it with interested eyes, and we'll have to see how that goes. But as I said, we'll discuss it in January, so at least we know when it's occurring. Now, I brought this up last week, and I'm bringing it up again this week. For those who weren't here last week, this popped up on my Facebook feed about a survey looking for guys who like sci-fi movies. And at the time, I asked if anybody had seen this or had signed up to it. Now that a week has passed, I'm just curious to know if anybody's actually done that, seen it, or signed up to it. I'm just curious to know if anybody's received any interest in this at all and what's happened. So I know you wouldn't have but did you at least see it pop up in your feed at all?
I have seen it pop up a couple of times. Last time I mentioned I was getting, are you interested in Asian women? This week I got, do you want to do a study on gout? So I don't know what websites I'm following that get me these ads. I'm surprised someone like Moneybags hasn't signed up for it because let's face it, he'll do anything for a coin.
Tell you what, so hang on, I can press a couple of buttons. Kelvin has said, yeah, good on you. So, second time I've seen it now. Well, that'd be like last week and this week on this show. So obviously nobody, hang on. Greg said he saw it pop up in the feed. Hang on, wrong button. Greg said he saw it pop up in the feed today. So clearly no one has actually signed up for it yet, or if they are planning to. So I was just curious to see what it was all about.
It seems too good to be true.
Okay.
It seems too good to be true, doesn't it? You want my opinions on science fiction movies,
and you got to pay for them as well. I'm going to get special things out of it. So, so just get back to what Christy said. So, who likes sci-fi? It's a scam. Yeah, it does sound a bit dodgy, doesn't it? So, yeah, okay. Be careful. Joshua said, "Be careful what you say. Facebook is listening." Yeah. Yeah, anyway, so if anybody does, I won't put that up again. So next week I won't touch it. But if anybody does, I'm just curious to know what happens if any great benefits and what questions are asked and whatever else. So yeah, just more curious than anything else. All right.
The other thing,
this one, what?
Before we move on, the other thing I was going to say, we should hook Christy up with Shane Cook because he does customs. And if he was asked about, no, seriously, doing a regeneration Ncuti Gatwa figure, I'm sure that's a challenge he would rise to.
I'm going to take a drink. I don't know how am I supposed to respond to that. Don't make me cough. If you make me cough, I can't speak for 20 minutes.
Sorry about that. No, I am serious. He likes to do every single costume of every single Doctor, as we saw on our show a few weeks ago. So maybe he will do one, you know.
Unbelievable. Anyway, let us move on, shall we? Before we get ourselves banned for the umpteenth time. This one popped up. It's nothing, no big deal, right? One thing that we don't have in this country. Yeah, see, take that, watch it, Aaron. Yeah, exactly right. So
I was just being helpful and offering a service.
No, well, there you go. One thing that this country does not have in Australia, right, is because not a lot of sci-fi movies or TV shows were made here, especially memorable ones, and to the point where people can celebrate where they were filmed on a regular basis. About the closest you'll get is Mad Max, if you're prepared to hoof that out to Broken Hill and all that sort of stuff, 100,000 miles away in the middle of really is absolute nowhere. Whereas in America, they do. Now, I'm just going to show up a couple of different examples. So one of them, it happens, I think it's an annual thing called Blobfest. Okay. So as you can see, this is for 2026, and they're doing a thing in 2025. The only thing you need to know about this, it's being run by the Colonial Theatre, which, if you remember the movie The Blob, everybody runs out of the theatre. And they did that for real, right? There was an actual real cinema. They all ran out of it because the Blob's taken over the cinema, right? So the Blobfest thing is still going, which is awesome for them and great and fantastic. But the reason why I put this up is because something occurred last year, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it have been awesome if we could have gone to that? And of course, it's a lot of text. You don't have to worry about reading all the text. But of course, the filming locations for the Twin Pines Mall in Back to the Future, they had their annual meetup at 1:15 a.m. In the car park of that location. And how grouse would it be to do something like that? And as you can see, I don't know if you can read it down here, guys, there's a DeLorean vehicles on display, wear a Back to the Future costume or whatever is encouraged, socialize with other Back to the Future fans, and then take a group photo. And you can see from that photo, that was from 2022 down the bottom there. What a shame that we can't have something like that in this damn country. That would be awesome, man. What do you reckon?
We can have Blobfest. It's when I go to the cinema. I think it's one of the. I think it's one of those things where you're right. It's because the locations are there. Because Back to the Future, like, it is interesting. Back to the Future is one of those movies where there's become more and more enthusiasts as long as it's been around. I mean, for the first 10 years, they weren't doing the Twin Pines Mall thing. That's a more modern thing. I actually think it might have started up when the future date hit Back to the Future 2, and everyone thought it was cool that we'd actually taken over Back to the Future 2, and they started get together then. The other thing is, Back to the Future is one of those cool movies where when it was filmed in 84, the past was, 55. Now, Back to the Future, the 84 is actually the past for us. It's one of those things that really works well. The other thing, you can tell Back to the Future is going to be around for the long term because, they're making the Broadway musical of it, and that's doing quite well and things like that. They'll never remake it. I think it's a clause that they have. They'll never remake it or make any more sequels, but I think that's a good thing because I don't think they could make it any better than it was. As for making events like that, we should put our minds together and think up what we can come up with something for Melbourne, something local, something on the Yarra.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is the place next to Science Works, which is where they do the Mad Max. The MFP headquarters is outside of near Science Works, but it's nowhere near as cool as, say, the Twin Pines Mall thing. And you do wonder how far do people travel just to go to that one catch-up. It's for free. People just turn up. They probably hang around for hours. That'd be just awesome. And it's just like one of those things you go, you just meet with like-minded fans once a year, saying, the same time next year. I absolutely love it. So
on the beach, we can all pretend to take our suicide pills.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, on the beach is a good example. Funny enough, I don't think they spend much time on the beach. And of course, everybody dies, so it's not exactly a very, very happy story. But
you could be Fred Astaire or the racing enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly right. So
I've got a good
one.
We could do Malcon, and we could all make a fake tram and go out to Coburg and pretend we're escaping from the bad guys at the end of Malcolm.
Love the sound of that. Let me know how it goes, dude, because I certainly won't be there. Very, very cool. Absolutely magnificent. Anyway, so
what about
the big?
I've got another one.
What?
I've got another Melbourne one. The Big Steel, where we can all be dancing in the storm to what was it? I can't remember the band, but that was another Melbourne one. We can all drive around in Nissan Cedrics.
Very good. I'm going to move along because this is just killing me at the moment. Anyway, so yes, put your heads together, fans. At this rate, I think the only coolest thing that's going on is stuff that's happening in your store. But it is a shame that we can't get to do what the Americans do. But not to worry. Very, very cool. Now, this has come out this week. A trailer has been released. The actual show doesn't come out until next year. But did you see this at all? It's called The Electric State. It's a Netflix movie that's coming out with Millie Bobby Brown, who's grown up a lot since her days and since Stranger Things. Did you see this at all? Have you had a look at this and checked it out?
I actually haven't. When you said we were going to talk about this today, I wanted to get a chance to check it out, but I just have been too busy today. So you will have to use your croaky voice to explain this one.
Oh, thank you. So it's an alternative 1994, and clearly robots exist in this particular world. And funnily enough, the story isn't about Millie Bobby Brown's character and robots. It's actually about trying to find her brother. He said she just happens to befriend a robot. So I didn't get. I only watched the trailer once, and I didn't get all the details. But I think in this particular world, robots get outlawed, or they get brought down a few pegs in the social order. Anyway, she befriends robots, and she's on a hunt to try and find her brother. And I tell you what, just by looking at it, it's a great concept. It looks awesome, and I got to say, it'll be one to check out when the time comes. So, dude, what do you think just by looking at it?
I don't remember if you will. I don't know if you'll remember us having this discussion, but we were talking about franchises that could do well now. Gee, they could do a good Magnus robot fighter, couldn't they? When you look at stuff, when you look at stuff like this and how they can do robots, it looks like probably it's aimed as a family movie. So I think that's a good thing, and in some ways it has a broader appeal. They've obviously gone for Millie Bobby Brown because of the Stranger Things connection, and she's got sort of that sci-fi credibility to her. But without seeing it, I can't really say more than that. I've just watched it then with the sound off. So yeah.
No, that's fine. It's supposed to be a bit of a sort of a lot of comedy as well as a drama. When you see the trailer, it seems to be far more dramatic. And I like the idea that she's in this room. It's like a classroom, and everybody puts on the headsets, which is almost an extension of what it's going to be like. You know, got the VR glasses that go over this way. And maybe at some point they're going to tunnel vision them down so you can get depth of field better for people with bad eyesight or something. I don't know. And of course, that is just happening everywhere at the moment. So, as I said, it's an alternative 1994. I don't know why they picked 94 specifically, but robots are a bit more of a common thing. And maybe it has something to do with how society today is changing so fast regarding the introduction of robots, virtual reality, and our reliance on technology, that we get to a point where you say, no, we want to scale it back now. We're starting to get a bit sick of it. I don't really know. But the trailer only came out a couple of days ago. It comes out in March next year, of all places, like months to go before it comes out. And I reckon people should check it out. So I agree. It looked interesting. I totally agree with you on that one. So, yeah, very, very cool.
Some of the imagery in that reminds me of the robots in AI.
Yeah. And that big happy face one, clearly robots are created for different roles. Maybe there was to entertain children at carnivals and things like that.
Do you know what that reminded me of? Something from one of our favourite movies, the actual Catwoman cat from
yes, for Batman Returns. Yeah. Didn't think of that. Yeah, very, very cool. So anyway, check that out if you haven't done so already. There you go. And just finally, before we move on to something very, very exciting, so he's not even watching tonight. I can't believe it. Good old Sonny. So at Aron, our legendary dude, he's been making a bit of a pilgrimage to your store every week to sit outside the place next door to you, which is the coffee shop, to have coffees with people. And believe it or not, we've decided to promote it. Sunny Saturdays, we've decided to call it. So if nobody's doing anything on 11:30 on Saturday, and this happens every week, but I'm promoting it for every second week because obviously I'm working every week, second week, and I can't be there for all of it. And you want to talk about coffee and collectibles, feel free to come along. Now, if there's only a small table and a certain amount of chairs, so if it ends up being too big, then we'll cross those bridges. But there you go, Sunny Saturdays. And, of course, Aron can't be there because he's working in the shop. What do you reckon, dude?
Yeah, I just hear my name mentioned all the time but can't work out what's going on. It should be coffees and collectibles and cholesterol. That would get more of the collectors coming along, I think.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Anyway, this is something that Karan's come up with. He is obviously one of our regular viewers. He's probably fallen asleep through the show like he normally does. And it's a bit of a thing. So, it's just good to just hang out and sitting on the side of the street. And, I like that one. Yeah, throw him a donut. Absolutely fantastic. And so that's Saturday at 11:30 outside your store. And, of course, once you're finished mucking around with us, got to go into Aron's store and do some shopping. So,
well, if we've got just a second, I'll give you some exclusives here because I haven't started advertising yet. We are having a Halloween sale that is going to start on Saturday. Now, I usually don't advertise sales until the day before they're on because if you advertise a week before, no one buys anything for that entire week, so it defeats the purpose. So tomorrow we start advertising 25% off everything, not just the horror stuff. But here's the big news, which I haven't advertised anywhere yet either. This week, I got confirmation Sylvester McCoy and Janet Fielding, big Doctor Who stars and Hobbit stars with Sylvester McCoy, are going to do a signing in the shop, much like our Fraser Hines Day on the 9th of November. Same deal. They'll be there for an hour. We'll get through as many autographs as we can. All you need to do, you want one autograph, you buy one item. You want an autograph from both of them, you buy 2 items. Really simple. You just have to be able to count to 2. So keep that weekend or that day free. More info to come.
I tell you what, I'm so excited. I just got to push this button.
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS!
There we go.
I'm sure with videos like that, people will be wanting your autograph soon too.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and there you go, fans. You heard it here first. How exciting is this? Greg is already excited. Very, very cool. Very, very groovy. Obviously, we'll be promoting it more as we get closer to the day, which is kind of cool. But there you go. More dockies turning up at the store. How good is that? Hey, which is very, very groovy. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, as I said, there'll be more promotions to come, so don't panic yet, just fans. Quick chat. I was watching, turn on the TV the other day, flicking through the stations, and Armageddon come up, the movie from the 1990s. And I thought, oh my goodness, sci-fi disaster films. Mate,
Yes.
I tell you, hang on, what? I could be a great at a bat. I thought I read that as BotCon. It's like, again, we're talking about robots earlier. It's like, yeah, exactly right. I was thinking, why would I be a guest at a BotCon? It's like, yeah, right. Yes, disaster movies. And I thought, look, we only got 10 minutes, so we're just going to be quick chat about some famous disaster movies, mate. When, like, you know, sci-fi ones, obviously, not just normal ones. But what do you reckon, dude? Is there still room in the world for disaster movies where it's just shit goes down and a lot of cities get destroyed?
Absolutely, because I think the thing is that people go and see disaster movies isn't probably the acting or the plot. It's just to see the special effects. And as special effects get better, the look of how things are destroyed get better as well. We were talking last week how you could, on the week before, market Space 1999 as a disaster movie now. Maybe not the boring bit after the moon breaks orbit, but can you imagine doing stuff like some of these remakes with amazing special effects? War of the Worlds is a classic example. The original War of the Worlds is a benchmark in classic science fiction movies. I can't think of anything bad about that movie. You wouldn't ever thought it would need to be remade. Yeah, I really loved the Tom Cruise version of it. It wasn't one of those reissues, remakes where you go, why did they bother doing that? There is still room in the world for good disaster movies, and if it's got sci-fi in it, it's going to be even better for me.
Well, the thing I found interesting when I was watching Armageddon is that because it was made in the 90s, so the World Trade Center was still standing, and of course, when the meteorites smack into the Earth, sort of in the start and towards the middle, one of them actually crashes into the World Trade Center. And I thought, oh, that's sort of like predicting the future. But the thing about even things like movies like Armageddon, they put in the romance story, the action part, and as well as all the drama. And you go, I could see why, even if the critics didn't like it, why the fans would go completely burko over it. And it's hard not to shed a tear throughout the entire thing, especially the end sequence when they're getting married. And I've got to say, good quality disaster movies, even if they're completely impractical, are bloody awesome to watch, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. So, well, that it is interesting. They come in pairs, don't they? Armageddon and Deep Impact, and all of these movies. A lot of the I guess meteors and stuff from outer space are science fiction type disaster movies, and there's been a few of them. I don't know if you've seen any of the more recent ones. They range from quite good to, you know, quite crap, I've got to say. Depending, I guess, whether they're big budget made for the cinema or they're made for the quick watch on Netflix or something like that. But there is no shortage of them.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Deep Impact, of the two, it was definitely the more scientifically accurate movie by a long shot. While I'm at it, I've got to do this. So we've got a fun factoid from Russell, who said, oh, hang on, wrong button. Sorry. Fun factoid, 50s classic when worlds collide was originally going to be made by Cecil B. DeMille in the 30s. So everyone would escape in a giant Flash Gordon spaceship. Oh, how cool is that? So that is a very, very groovy. Well, there's one thing, I mean, to be fair, one thing I do like about Americans, and it was mentioned here about, bloody hell. There's nothing like seeing cities getting destroyed. And one thing the Americans do is they blow their cities up really well, don't they? I mean, I mean,
Yes.
as you said, like with the special effects, when they blow up the White House, I was like, now that is a damn cool shot.
It is one of those things where that movie probably, got double the people go and see it because of that shot. And it is interesting when they did the sequel that no one really went and saw. They didn't have any of that sort of, I guess, money shot in it to get people to go in again. They were relying on people going and seeing the sequel. And it turns out, the disaster movie without as much disaster is not as desirable. Yep, 2012 is another one of those. I guess it's climate change and disaster movies mixed together. There's quite a few of those. I don't know what were some of the other ones that came out.
That's right. Yes. Guy said he really enjoyed The Core. I saw it, but I don't remember it, I've got to say. So, but 2012 was good because they built these big ass arcs in the space of like less than a year or whatever, and stuck all these rich people on there and whatever else. So to rebuild the earth, and it was definitely a visual treat for the eyes. There's no denying that. We've discussed Cloverfield is more of a monster movie, right?
Yeah.
But the destruction of New York is still very, very groovy, no matter what.
Yeah, no, the Cloverfield is another one. As a disaster movie, I mean, all the kaiju movies are disaster movies, but Cloverfield felt more like a horror disaster than like King Kong versus Godzilla, which isn't the same sort of movie. We discussed it. I think Look Up was an interesting disaster movie.
Oh, Don't Look Up. Yes, it was. Of course. Yes. Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up is more recent one, and I don't know. It doesn't give anything away from the name. Have you seen Greenland?
I have, but I don't remember it.
Basically, another asteroids hitting Earth, and the only place they can escape to is Greenland. So that for me is one of those. Right. If you want someone not to go and see your movie because they think it's a disaster, not a disaster movie, Greenland sounds like something about someone hiking in the wilderness, not like the moon exploding and raining terror on the Earth. Mars Attacks is another great one. The roots for that. Sorry.
No, keep going.
The roots for that go right back to Earth versus Flying Saucers, which is still one of my favorite movies ever. I can watch that if that's on and just put it on, and the Washington Monument going down, and that's really, I guess, what would have inspired Independence Day, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that's right. One thing leads on to another, which is quite common, and of course, they had the trading cards for Mars Attacks. As well. There's a whole long list of them, and of course, we're just showing through a selection here. Jean or Jean? Hang on, I think we've had Jean before. Day After Tomorrow, of course, Moonfall, San Andreas. So I was mainly sticking to the sci-fi ones because when it comes to disaster movies, you can have normal ones, but we wanted something that had more of the sci-fi element in them.
I love it.
I did see Greenland. But I don't think it kind of worked for me. It wasn't as like, I just want to see a lot of shit blowing up and getting destroyed. I don't recall that happening, but I could be wrong.
It's one of those movies where I'm just like, ditch the kid. The kid doesn't do anything they say.
Yeah.
Annoying kids are one of those things that wreck movies for me, and I've got one that I live with all the time.
So the other thing is they got the kid right, and it's like, for crying out loud, kids, stop like running off. Oh, they've got to go and save the dog. And there's like, oh my God, we're about to like launch the nukes to save the world. Oh, there's a kid out there trying to save the dog.
That's like horror movies. I remember the original Amityville Horror where they all got out of the house and they're like, where's the dog? The dog's still in the house. Like, we got to go back in. I'd be, love that dog. Pity, I'm not going back into that house kind of thing.
Easily replaced at the vet. That's okay. There's plenty more where they came from. Absolutely fantastic. And the last picture I wanted, of course, disaster movies was the disaster of the wasteland. Was especially Mad Max 2, a disaster movie of a different type as to what could occur in real life. But I agree with you. One thing about like American movies, they do blow stuff up well, and people want to see stuff getting blown up, right? And in fact, I think it was in Independence Day, because they show at the end of the movie all the different cities where the ships have crashed. I heard a story that they would insert different countries depending on where the film was being screened. So in Australia, we saw Sydney, right? The thing had plowed straight into the Opera House or whatever. And of course, you're watching the cinema and go, "Oi, that's us! How good is that?" And I think they did that intentionally. That's what I heard, intentionally.
Yeah, they do. They did.
The world. So I mean, that's freaking awesome. It was like, oh my God, Sydney's been half destroyed by a crashed ship. How awesome is that?
It is. It's like it's another one of those great examples of why Melbourne is better.
Totally agree. How's this for a line? Kelvin said, "Joker 2 is a disaster movie." Yeah, well, maybe it is. So. Unbelievable.
Are there any disaster?
Leave it. That's
Are
a
there,
dog. Save it. No, go.
are there any disaster movies that are musicals?
Oh, no, I wouldn't think so. So,
No.
no, there you go. But yes, there's some damn good disaster movies out there, which is absolutely, yes, exactly right. Melbourne screams in joy seeing Sydney get destroyed. So, yes, absolutely fantastic. Now, there's a lot of good disaster movies out there. As I said, I mean, Armageddon was made like 25 years ago or whatever, 30 years ago almost. And I really enjoyed it. It was really entertaining. It still holds up. It comes across well. The drama's good. I mean, it's just fast paced, a lot of editing, like a lot of action and whatever else, but it still works. And even though it was completely different to Deep Impact, which I personally really thought was really good for what it was meant to be, I found it very entertaining, and I thought you can't complain about that. So yeah, very good.
Well, I have got to say, if you look at B-grade disaster movies from the 50s and 60s, and you look at current ones, the names of the original ones are by and far much better. Like The Day the Sun Exploded, When Worlds Collide, and all of that, and you get Moonfall and Greenland now. I mean, that's almost like anticlimactic naming.
You know what? I think When Worlds Collide is such a, you'd want to see it just because I'm going to see two worlds crash into each other. Oh my, how gas is that going to be? I like this one. 7 tidal waves for 7 brothers. Yeah, absolutely love it, which is very, very cool. Greg has said, don't some reviews say that this show is like a disaster movie? And we're damn proud of it too, I've got to say. So
yeah,
absolutely.
That was the Google review from this guy called the Soul Greg King.
He was, yes. He said, "You want to see a shipwreck show, and there's no ship, and there's no sea, but come and check us out. We're completely a disaster." Anyway, it was a very, very quick chat about disaster movies. We're going to move on to something. Now, this is a question. Hang on, shit. Sorry, I can't think straight because I'm still crook. I'm going to press this button, and then I'm going to get back to you. Right, sit tight.
A question.
So, as is sometimes the case, we do actually get questions that are submitted to us. And this one was submitted today. It's not specifically science fiction related, but is very relevant. And I thought that's a very good question. Once again, Russell thought of this, and I thought it was a damn good one. So, the question for you, dude, and this will get a lot of people watching this right now thinking, right? So, the question for you is, if Batman, the 1966 version, was made the same way, that's all the production values were exactly the same, all the characters are the same, the costumes are the same, nothing has changed, but it was played straight with all the camp removed, the zoinks and the powers and whatever else taken out, would it still have become a pop culture icon?
I would say no, because we got that with the Green Hornet, that was an offshoot kind of Batman, but they took it seriously and the market wasn't there. And that is a good show. It's very of its time. It has the high productions levels that Batman had. It had some money in it. It had Bruce Lee, who was a big thing. Probably is more famous after he did that than when he was in it. But the thing about Batman is you have to remember, before this, the only comic book movies were things like Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, or the Batman where they did take it seriously, the movie serial ones where he was just in, a black car and he fought like, I think there was the cue ball, but it was just like normal gangsters rather than villains. The thing that made this outstanding as it is now then is it was totally different to any of that. They took a comic book movie, a comic book character, and they made a comic book TV series out of it. Yes, they leaned into the comedy and for people who think comics are for kids, but that was endearing to kids, which made them like it. But if you watch Batman, that is not just aimed for kids. There are a lot of adult jokes that when you see as an adult, you go, oh, I can't believe they said that in a kid's show. And because they say it deadpan, they get away with it. I mean, I've said it before, there's episodes where the Joker's henchmen, when they're in prison, their numbers on them are like, breast, waist, and hip size, 38, I don't know, whatever. And you see that as a kid, and that means nothing. But as an adult, probably as a teenager, you get it and think it's funny. And then as an adult, you sort of go, well, that's quite clever. So I don't think if it had been made straight, it would have any of the cultural impact beyond being another Batman series from the past.
Yes, sorry, I just had a blank. What I was going to say there. So he's a bit late to the party, but I'll put his comment up because he's a first-time viewer here. Michael, can't pronounce your surname. Just saying that The Wandering Earth was pretty good. Good to see you joining the show, Michael. Hope it's going to be like half an hour of your life you never get back, but you can't have everything. Oh, that's right. But Green Hornet, right? The only thing the Green Hornet didn't have was all the color, right?
Yes.
So visually
It
wasn't
just
so
had
as good to look
just
at.
had green.
Yeah, that's right. And the good point, the Green Hornet didn't have the pop culture appeal as Batman, and I tend to agree with
Yeah.
you. It was an interesting comment that came up. Everybody sort of agreed with you, saying no, it wouldn't have. So actually making it silly and ridiculous, even though the characters played it straight or the actors played it straight, is kind of what made it work. It is an interesting one. Now, you talk about the serials. To be fair, serials were like 20 years prior to even 30 years prior to that. So it's a completely different audience, and they're still finding their way. I liked it when Russell brought this up today, and I go, because it's a one that does make you think. And it's like, well, why did the show succeed? Did it succeed because it looked good and there was good casting and the stories were good, or is it because of the fact that it has this camp element to it that was very indicative of the time? And that's the thing that everybody remembers. Because if you do take all that out and it becomes another ordinary show, you'd love to have seen what they would have done. So if you took out all the powers and the zonks and the bashes and whatever else and made it really, really serious, because the characters, as I said, played it seriously, would it still have been as popular as it was? So, but I think most people, like you say, definitely it would not have worked. Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about that is if you flip that over and said, if they made a show like that now, would it work? I don't think it would. I think it only works in the 60s where you had Laugh In and you had like sort of the movement that for the first time was sort of working against the establishment kind of thing, and you got stuff and sneaked it onto television, and you were able to get there because of comedy. If they did that now, people might go, that's not great. And probably would reject it. But the funny thing is, I actually think if they did a Star Trek show and they go, we're making this like it was made in the 60s, and they did that straight, I think that would work, doing a 60s Star Trek show. So Batman is of that epoch in time where it's a cliche, but it was like catching lightning in a bottle where everything came together at the right time. If it wasn't Adam West, I don't think it would have worked as well. If they hadn't have got the same actors. The other thing, though, I think Batman was a victim of its own success, where the first series, where they didn't know if it was going to be successful, it was massively successful. And then you got all these big actors wanting to be on the show. So instead of going, Cesar Romero would make a good Joker, they go, well, we've got like these other two people. We'll make up a totally new character from them because there isn't a Batman villain that works. And that second series goes downhill because of that. And I think they realized it. And by series 3, it swings around and starts getting good again. But I think it was too late.
Yeah, Russell made the comment to me today, and I thought it was a very, very apt description. He said they took a joke, but they ran it for too long. They wore it out, which effectively is what happened. But like a lot of shows, and Star Trek is a damn good example of this, it finds its feet after it's finished. And then decades later, it's still considered quite popular. Colin has said, one of the things that worked for Batman was the special guest villains. And as we know, they were lining up. The actual actors were lining up to be in the show. And as you said, they had to invent bad guys just to slot these people in. And some of those people were pretty terrible. I mean, like a lot of things, once they start introducing Batgirl, because the ratings are sagging a little bit, they're getting a bit desperate. But you would think at the time, okay, maybe the ratings are declining, but the longevity of this thing is going to last decades, which I think is actually quite interesting.
The genius about Batgirl is when they introduced her, it totally played into the whole Batman universe where, again, no one knew who she was, even though it was quite obvious. All of that stuff. We watch it in the shop. It's no big secret. We put it on and watch almost the whole series in a day sometimes. And when it gets to series 3, some of those ones are amazing. Surfs Up Batman, where they're in board shorts over the top of their regular clothes and stuff like that, and it's all played totally seriously. It's a marvel to behold still, and it is one of those shows, if you get a good episode, people will stop in the shop and actually watch the TV for 20 minutes until the episode's over. So it's still got something about it that appeals to people today.
So regarding if they had made it a serious show, Russell said you think it would have been a reasonable success like the 70s Hulk show. I don't know. They played for really different audiences in the end. The Hulk series, Incredible Hulk in the late 70s was taken very, very seriously. But the 60s was, and I agree with what you said, it's a lightning in a bottle. It's just one of those things you can't replicate it now. Even if you tried, it would just fail dismally. It just had to be at the right place at the right time. And it's the one thing that gave the show this massive core fan base that's still popular even today. And you're right, people will come in and watch the show on TV because it has just that connection that everybody can relate to. And up until 1989, it was really the only big on-screen Batman we'd ever seen. So we're all just used to all the color and the craziness. So, yeah, no, that is very cool. Sorry, they're a far more serious comic book bands now, so a serious campy show would kind of piss them off. Yeah, that's true. Comics have changed a lot. The shows have changed a lot. Colin said Batman girl was jumping the shark Batman style, I suppose. Yeah, could say that. I mean, they introduced her for a purpose, and it worked to a degree. But as always, the show found its longevity after it actually finished. So anyway, the bottom line is you tend to think that it wouldn't have made it as successful as it is today, and I tend to agree with you, dude, because it's the one thing that everybody remembers.
I think you'd probably qualify it by saying it would have been successful when it was released for those 3 years, but it wouldn't be as well remembered as it is the way they did it as it was. Yeah,
no, totally agree. And you are right. If Star Trek had been done in the campy style, God, who knows how that would have all turned out. So,
and it is one of.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Why so serious? Very, very good. Yes. Sorry, dude. Go for it.
It is one of those television series where they did the full-length movie, and boy, that is a good movie still that works in the middle of the television series, and it is probably the first comic book team up ever to make it onto the screen. I don't think before that was there any comic book movies where they teamed up all the villains before. So can you imagine? Can you imagine as a kid, you love the Batman, you love the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, and Catwoman. You hear movies coming out, and you wonder, I wonder what villain they all are. That would be amazing because that concept would not have existed before that movie.
So when you get all four of them together, their minimum objective must be the entire world. Absolutely love it.
It happened at sea. C
for Catwoman. Yeah,
there was a giant robotic shark pulling my leg. The Joker. This all adds up to a mighty riddle. The Riddler.
Riddler.
Yeah.
Remember what's six? Shit. I think it's yellow, sits in a tree, and is very, very dangerous. A sparrow with a machine gun. Yes, exactly right.
Is it a machine gun or Tommy gun? I know.
No, it was machine gun. Yeah, sparrow with a machine gun, and of course.
Yeah, a ballpoint banana.
Banana.
The reason that works so well, because when I was a kid and watched that, and you have those riddles, you go, freaking hell, Batman's a genius. They worked that out. And then as an adult, you go, they're sending it all up. There's no way he could work out those riddles. They make no sense at all.
So I know no one's going to do this, but if you end up watching the Batman movie from 1966, right, there's a lot of great stuff in it. You see the Batboat and the plane and the helicopter and blah, blah, blah. At the very, very end, when they're rehydrating the council, right? Now, this is. I want you to watch this, fans. Pay attention, right? When they're rehydrating the council, they're inside the room. They're on the chairs, right? They all speak different languages. They're all banging on the table or whatever. They got all the test tubes sitting on the chairs, right? And they've got the big water thing in the middle of the table with all the tubes running off onto the seat because that's where the powder is, right? Once they put the water in, right, and there's a long, long drawn-out scene, all the people suddenly rehydrate, right? The question I got to ask is, what happens to all the friggin' stands that the test tubes were sitting on? They just disappear. No wonder there's a lot of unhappy councillors in there, dude.
That's going to leave a mark.
It is going to leave a mark indeed.
The question I would like to know, maybe Russell can answer this, because it is, every time I watch it, I think I should Google that, and I always forget. I always wonder if the name in that, Colonel Schmidlap, is a rude name or something, because it's a made-up name, and it always sounds like when I hear it, that's got to have something behind it, but I haven't Googled it and checked. So, Russell, does Colonel Schmidlap have a meaning?
Commodore. It's Commodore Schmidlap.
Is it Commodore? Well, the Schmidlap.
He's English, dude. Yeah, Commodore Schmidlap.
Yeah, do you know many Schmidlaps?
What can I say? I met one yesterday at the local 7-Eleven. And just to finish up before we move on, as Guy said here, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. So it's as simple as that. So very, very cool. Before I finish up, move on, you know how we say we've been doing some questions without warnings, putting them into separate videos from months ago. The one that came out this week was to do with Star Trek. Was it good for, as in Star Trek Discovery, was it good for Star Trek? So that's on YouTube if you want to go and check that out. Huh?
That'll get us cancelled, won't it?
Oh no, it was a very fair discussion. Yeah, we're pretty cool and easygoing. Speaking of cool and easy going, guess what, fans? We get to release a brand new segment. This is something that Aaron's come up with. Absolutely awesome. Good old toy stories, mate. How groovy is this? This is answering all the questions that you guys have been bugging us with for years, hundreds of years, millennia, even before the days of the dinosaurs, dude. So you've decided that you want to put this in for every couple of weeks, and we're going to be talking about certain questions that you've been asked. Is that right there, Aaron? Are you ready to go with your very first question that you've been asked?
Absolutely. So just to go over it, you would notice if you're a regular viewer, it often drifts into collectibles, and I always get the same questions over and over again. And I thought, you know what, if there's that much interest in it, I'll put it together and document it. And then if anyone asks, we can go, well, you can go and watch this episode, and it explains it. But hopefully it's interesting, and hopefully because so many people ask these questions, you know, it will be something that is worth going through. So we'll see. But the first one, and it's one of the questions I get all the time, is what is the best house call you ever went to? So as people would know, I own a shop and I'm a secondhand dealer, and I've dealt with toys for a long, long time. So I've been buying and selling for more than 30 years. And, you know, there's always the stories of, you know, what's the best collectible or what's the most valuable. So we're going to go through everything. But the one I'm going to start it off with is what's the best house call you've ever done? And I started it with this one because I've actually got photos. Before the age of digital photography, no one really has photos of stuff they did on day-to-day life because, you know, it actually cost money to get film developed. And if you took the wrong photo, it was just wasting a photo. So no one really took pictures of toy collections. But I did because I was weird. But this was a good enough collection that I took photos of it. And so the story is this. I used to work in a shop called Antiquarian Records in Camberwell, and I managed that shop for about 10 years. We mainly sold secondhand vinyl. But because I'm such a big sci-fi fan and collector of toys, I asked if I could have the cabinet to put my stuff in, and that was quite successful. So it got 2 cabinets, and then it got to 4 cabinets, and then we started advertising that we buy toys as well rather than me just sell my own stuff. So I get a call, and you have to realize we get hundreds of calls about buying collections, and most of them are duds. Most of them are like, thank you for calling us. It sounds like you should probably just take that to the op shop. And this was a call where a guy rang up and he said, I'm having a garage sale on the weekend. I'm selling my Transformer collection. I'm putting everything out in the garage sale for $1 each because I just want to clear it. If you want to come out during the week and give me $2 each, then I don't have to have a garage sale and it's a whole lot easier for me. And so I was thinking, do you know what? Even if they're crap, Transformers at $2 each are worth grabbing. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll come out. And I went to the guy's house, and it was like walking into an 80s toy shop. He had a room where he had all these Transformers, and they were all in very near mint condition with their original boxes and all their paperwork and everything like that, which is the top condition that collectors want. I guess the only better condition is sealed, but he had opened these as he had got them. And I walked in and I said to him, so you want $2 each? And he said, yep, is that too much? I'm like, no, I'm quite happy to take these for $2 each. And I know there was 300 boxed mint Transformers because I got them for $600. So I didn't expect that there would be that many. And I'd taken my wife out with me for the drive because it was quite a drive out. And I said to her, I'm really sorry, Tennille. We have to get this entire collection into the car before this guy changes his mind. And it was like a cartoon where I piled them to the roof on her lap. So every area in the car was filled, and it basically, I couldn't see out the rear vision mirror. And I had to get it back in one go because I didn't want the guy to change his mind. So it took quite a while to take them out of the house. And you talk to people and you gauge a little bit about the collection. And I said to him, like, you've got a really good collection. Did you collect Transformers, or why are you selling it? And he said, when I was young, my father had an affair. And so my mother had custody, and I saw my father once every 2 weeks for the weekend, and he knew I liked Transformers, so he would go and buy me all the new Transformers, and we'd open them up and we'd play with them. But I hated my father because of what he'd done. So as soon as we got home, I'd box them all up, and I would put them in the spare room, and they've sat in there since the 80s. And he said to me, this is a hate collection. And I said to him, do you know what? Well, where it's going, it will be very loved. And I didn't really say more than that because I didn't really want to stuff up the deal or anything. So we got them back to the shop, and as Dags has been putting up, the displays were some of the pictures I took of the cabinets in the shop when they were in the glass cases. Now, unfortunately for me, I was working as the manager there. I didn't buy the collection for me. I bought it for the shop. So I didn't make a huge amount out of it. But to give you an idea, we paid $600, and within a week, we had sold $18,000 worth of Transformers. Now, this is going back 20 years. Some of the Transformers in the condition that he had, I have seen go on eBay, probably through lockdown when prices were a bit up, for $20,000 each, which is just mind-blowing. So my boss at the time was very pleased. He gave me a $1,000 bonus, which was nice. And I do have to say, I'm a very honest person. I think anyone who knows me knows I try to do right by people. Driving that collection to the shop and saying, here's this amazing collection, was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I could have just driven it home and taken it to my place and gone back to the shop and said, oh, it was crap, there was nothing there. But I always try and be honest about stuff like that. So that was, in my opinion, the greatest house call I ever did, just because I love Transformers. The quality of the stuff was amazing. He set the price, so I didn't even have to make an offer, and the price was unbelievably good. And it went from something that was someone's burden or bad memories to an amazing collection that a lot of collectors in Melbourne got a piece of.
Love this comment from Kelvin when you said about trying to squeeze the collection into the car with Tennille. So you didn't just say to Tennille, stay here and I'll pick you up later. Here's a bus ticket to catch the bus to get home.
Colin, you're the master. I should have said that.
Yeah. Guy has just said, I'm just mind blown. How do these things happen? There's a lot of stories like this, Guy. This is just the first of many to come. Okay. Regarding the pictures, anything you wanted to highlight from the pictures? This is from photograph number 2. I mean,
I guess because they are out of my photo album. I am one of those strange kids that took photos of toys all through my life. And I was saying to Dags the other day, do you know what? Of all the photo albums of family and relatives and parties, don't give a shit. Go back and all the pictures of old toys and stuff. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad I took all these photos. But as you can see, all original Transformers, before there was even any repros, these were all made. So all boxed, all in great condition. I usually try to keep something from every collection. And from this collection, I kept a set of the Dinobots, and I had them for about 15 years. And then when my son was born, I sold a lot of stuff off and they went with that. But it was an amazing collection. I'm not a big Transformer collector, but I appreciate how amazing Transformers are. And the G1 Transformers are by far my favorite generation of the Transformers.
So I know there's a lot to sort of cover off, but just very quickly, if that, by today's standards, what will that be worth these days?
Probably north of 100,000.
Wow. So there you go.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Oh, wow.
I know some of the stuff there. The one I was talking about in lockdown, there was a mint condition Starscream that had been opened but was basically brand new, and that went for 20,000 Australian. And all I can say is I had 600 Transformers in that condition.
Wow. I like this from Glenn. Hope you have a bigger car now. Yeah, you probably should need to invest yourself in an Econo van or something just to avoid these problems in the future. I like this one. From Shane. Tennille would have taken up less car space. You should have stayed behind. I like that one. That's actually good.
back then, I was actually not so bad back then. That was at the beginning of my marriage, before I regenerated into the blobfest I am now.
Blobfest. Hey, at least once a year they have a bit of a laugh about that. So don't put yourself down too much. But no, that is very, very cool. So there you go. That's the first of the questions to be answered. Now, of course, next week, someone's going to say, or next 2 weeks when we do the next episode of this, someone's going to say, so just out of curiosity, what was the best house call you ever made? Oh, my God, go back and check out the previous episode. So hopefully that sort of gives an indication of what this segment is all about. And you can post questions in if we haven't going to cover them all, in case we're not going to cover them off already. So it should be very, very groovy. So what do you reckon, dude?
Yeah, so as Dag said, if anyone wants to know anything, just shoot us a question and we will put it into the hat and it'll come out eventually and we'll address it.
Very, very cool. Now, we've actually got 5 minutes to go, and I just quickly got to do the promo stuff. So, Aaron's store, I did put this up at the earliest part of the show, but if you want to see some of those ultra rare Transformer collectibles, don't go to the store because they're not there, because he sold them 100 years ago. But if you want to see other Transformers, this is the store to go to. And if you were to look to the slightly to the left off that picture, that's where Sunny Saturdays are going to be. What do you reckon, dude?
Absolutely. So if you can get down, I think it could be quite a good social gathering, especially as it's coming into the warmer weather. Talking about Transformers, we did just get a pretty good Transformer collection and we put it out. Most of it went within a day. We have had, I've got to say, the last 4 weeks, probably unprecedented amount of collections coming in. We've had 2 huge 80s collections. Today I got 2 Doctor Who collections and the Flintstones collection, and Chad is like, where are we going to put it? I'm like, I don't care. We have to buy. So there is a lot of stuff coming through, and it really is interesting. It's a range of stuff where we've had some really high-end prototypes, unusual 80s toys that really command top dollar, plus we've got like Flintstones $2 figures and stuff like that. So we've got a bit of everything. Also, I have weird things happen to me. We've got the signing coming up with Sylvester McCoy and Janet, and we had the Fraser Hines one about a month ago. And I said, oh, it's a bit of a worry because I haven't been able to replenish the Doctor Who stock to the level a capitalist dog would like. And the day after Sylvester McCoy confirmed, 2 people rang me saying, I've got Doctor Who collections. Well, one was actually a Facebook, and then someone rang me. So I'm got Doctor Who coming out of the ears at the moment.
Well, guess what? You're going to get it over the years a little bit more.
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS!
I love that that's your claim to fame with Doctor Who.
Oh, I tell you what, absolutely fantastic. In fact, when I did that video, I had no idea what the references all were. Regarding the Halloween sale, will the staff be in costume for the Halloween sale?
I'm in costume every day. Come on. I come as the blob.
No, the Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters doesn't count.
No. Like, I don't do cosplay because we're usually so busy. Cosplay is a distraction that I don't need. It's like one extra level of distraction. And I like to, at least present the appearance of being semi-professional in what we do.
Yeah, you can just imagine someone says, oh, put this fancy mask on, and suddenly you can't see and you can't hear and you're wearing gloves and you can't press the right button. Hang on, is that item $50, is it? Oh, I've put in 5,000. Oh, yeah, sorry about that, kids. So,
well, as long as I get 5,000 for the $50 item rather than $50 for the $5,000 item.
Yeah, exactly right. Very, very cool. Anyway, fans, I think we're just dribbling on at the moment. We've still got 3 minutes to go, but we're going to just wrap it up anyway. Apologies for I've got a cold. I've been sort of like haven't been able to focus properly, and I've been coughing my way through the show. Hopefully, by next week, everything will be back to normal. What do you reckon, there, dude? All very good, very, very groovy.
You'll be back.
I will be back indeedy doody didy. All right, fans, party hard, rock on. In 2 weeks' time, there's more Toy Stories. Tell your friends about it, all right? Tune into the show. Mate, you're going to hear some awesome stuff that is just going to blow your mind when the lad starts talking about some of the experiences that he's had, which is very, very groovy. Very cool. All right, dude, I'm going to leave you to it. You party hard, rock on, and we will speak to you all very, very soon.
Have a good night, guys.
Okay, bye.